Go for it.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, Josh. I wanted to ask you about sort of how you're evaluating. I heard Claudio on a halftime interview talk about needing to retool. I know you've talked about that a little bit into the offseason. How much of those decisions on some guys who maybe will or won't be back next year? How much of that's been decided, and how much are you using these last 3 games to maybe give some guys some opportunities to prove something?
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing discussion. We'll continue to evaluate our roster and think about off-season needs. And there's a lot to think about. Obviously, some of the players that have been injured this year, some of the players that have underperformed, and obviously going into an expansion draft, who needs to be protected for those things. Lots of mechanisms in the offseason, but it's a continuous evaluation. So, I mean, the short answer is, everyone's got opportunity, hopefully, to play some minutes over the next 3 games, and we want to, and expect to put a lot into this game against Dallas. That's our biggest focus right now. So, we'll put the best 11 out there that we can, and the reserves will obviously be in a position to help us out. And then we'll think about Kansas City and Portland thereafter.
Yeah. I was just reading a story about a coach that I covered up here, and I'm in Maryville, Missouri right now. A guy named Ben McCollum, who's at Northwest Missouri State, one of the hot young coaches in college basketball right now. But I was reading a story about his second season here when he's at his alma mater, and they were really struggling. And he was saying how he realized at some point that he was telling them, stop playing frustrated, stop playing negative. And I'm wondering and he had to sort of check himself and say, I'm infecting them with my negativity. I wonder if you have had, maybe not necessarily that moment, but any moments of reflection where, it's different as an assistant than a head coach, where your energy carries over to the players on the field. Have you had some of those moments? Have you, do you understand kind of where I'm getting at there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't project negativity on the players. I mean, we have a way we want to play, and I think we continue to stick by a lot of the positives that we've been doing all year. And there's obviously room for growth. Every game, every training session gets analyzed and assessed, and we deliver information to players in a variety of ways. And that's the way I view the game. That's how I view development. That's how I view my responsibility as a teacher. And again, there's a lot of things that have been very positive, and certainly there's some things that haven't been good enough. And I mean, you yourself will document that, and many of the other media guys will as well. But we got to understand what the expectations were for this year. And obviously, we're layering in growth and development along the way. And there's been a lot of progress. And, next year is going to be a very important year for a lot of reasons. And we obviously got to fill in some gaps. But, negativity, disappointment, those things happen, I guess, in sport. But the last thing you want to do is project that onto players. You obviously have to give criticism when criticism is needed. As a staff, as players, we all need to be open to that. But it's about giving these guys confidence and giving them proper preparation, not just for the next game, but for their development, for their entire career. So those are the things I focus on.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Next up, Mark Turner. Go for it, Mark.
Laura. We are a cosmopolitan bunch. Chris is on the road. I'm in Kentucky right now. We're all over the place. Hey, Coach, good to see you.
You too.
Coach, you've been very measured in your responses. We've been peppering you with questions about Copa Tejas for feels like months now. And you've been very measured in your responses. And talking with some of the players, though, I know some of the players really are amped up for this coming weekend's game in particular now because of how things have fallen. How are you finding it this week? Are you finding that with certain players you're having to try to temper those expectations or refocus them? Or how is Copa Tejas influencing the build up to the game?
Again, it's the most important game we have right now. And that's, for a number of reasons. This is an opponent that we haven't gotten the results we like. We're part of a 3-team rivalry in state. And now we have an opportunity to win, certainly a supporter driven trophy and one that I think we're all energized by the possibility of. And as whatever the season has looked like for all 3 of us, I think, we're in a position to take and claim that stake as being the best in Texas. And, I think that's an important role. It's also very important for our team to continue to build off of pretty good performances. And that's part of this. We're going to go on the road to a difficult place against a very good opponent, regardless of what their record shows. They're a good team. So we have to be very assured of that and very buttoned up. And but it's an important game. There's no doubt about it for a number of reasons.
Obviously, Dallas have got the better of Austin in the last two meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think is going to be the key to getting that victory here this weekend?
Again, I go to discipline and organization. They're a team that has a lot of fluidity in their attack. Ferreira moves all over the place. They have a lot of speed along the front line. They want to encourage you to come and press them. And when you do that, you can make the field a bit bigger. They're extremely good with building up, utilizing their goalkeeper, bringing numbers down, and just a very, a very calm, technical team. And they have the ability to play over you. They have the ability to play through you. And again, guys like Pepe and Ferreira and Hara and obviously Pomicall, and they got a number of guys that can hurt you. So we got to be very organized and disciplined in that. But also when we have the ball, we have to be willing to play. And that's also part of this. It's how we can hurt them when we do have it and spread them out and find our spaces either internally or behind their back line.
Do you need me to grab you anything from the Bourbon Trail while I'm out here?
Anything would be great. I would graciously take whatever you could provide.
Use it to celebrate on Saturday. Here you go. All right.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, Jorge Turalde. Go for it, Jorge.
Hi, Josh. Well, keeping the Copa Texas thing, what can the Copa Texas trophy can save? And I'm talking about the whole year. I mean, considering that Dallas and Austin are the 13 and 14, on the positions, actually 12 and 13 of the positions. So this can be like a final to be who's the worst. I don't want to sound too negative. It's just
No, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job of sounding negative. Keep going with it.
It's like really in another countries it can be the final for the not to be the worst on the.
Well, I think again you can put it that way, or you can phrase it. These are teams that are competing to be the best in Texas. The season is the season. It's unfolded the way it has, and obviously it's a match that now if we win it, we win the Copa Texas, and it's important for our fans. It's important for our players. We're going to put everything we can into doing that. And the motivation comes from a lot of different ways. Obviously, our current situation and our table can change if we win this game, and we can vault over those other two Texas teams. So that's also on our mind. And again, continuing to build on good performances. But winning this and defeating Dallas will bring certainly a lot of positive moments that that haven't always been there this season, but we've had some good moments. But against your rivals, if you can beat Houston and follow that up with beating Dallas, I think it rights some of the things that we didn't get right during the year. But it's not going to correct the entire year, that's for sure. But it certainly will give us some good energy about the performances against Houston and against Dallas closing out the year, and show that we are the best team in Texas. But those things are not easily done, and we got a big match against Dallas, and they're going to come out with the same intentions. So I expect it to be a very competitive game.
And your thoughts about Texas being the worst in MLS?
It's an interesting thing to look at it, and we'll certainly dive into it and talk about it after the season. What leads into that? Obviously, we all know Texas is hot. It's difficult, navigating the climate, but it's warm in a lot of places. So. But it's, these are three good teams. I still think, deep down they have their own way of playing and their own qualities, and it's a challenging season for all three. And we're going to make the best of the last week of the season. And again, we got the opportunity in back-to-back games to go after Houston, go after Dallas, similar to earlier in the year, which I thought was interesting. We played them back-to-back as well on shorter rest, but we'll our guys are up for it. There's no doubt about it. We've talked a little bit about it already. We'll dive more into Dallas in the next 2 days. But we'll put everything we can into this game.
The last one, very quick. You guys are looking Dallas as a final game, as a final.
It's an important game, and it's the most important one out of the next three that we have right now. So that's where our energy, our focus is going into, and we'll deal with the next two games after that. But like I said, the chance to win this again, a fan-driven trophy, a supporter-driven trophy. This is important for our club, and we want to do that for a number of reasons. We want to continue to build on good performances, and we want to beat Dallas. We haven't beat them yet. They're a good team, and we want to go to their place and beat them, and that won't be easy. So we got to be understanding of what that's going to look like, and certainly ready for the battle, ready for the grind.
Thank you. Good
Thank
luck.
you. Next up, Bob Ballou. Go for it, Bob.
Let's go back to Mark real quick. Can you just get a bottle of bourbon for everyone on the call? If that works. Only the people on this call, though.
Yeah, if I can use Ryan's account, I will.
I can't wait to see what you bring back.
Josh, just in terms of FC Dallas, in terms of Pepe, what has he meant to this league? What do guys like that mean to the league when they come in and are able to do the things that he's done this year?
I think it means a lot, and it's not just Pepe, but there's a number of young players now that have, you look at Brendan Aronson and the impact he's, in a short time, but it's not a short time. These guys have been developed in a great system with their academy, under good tutelage from certainly the first team, but the academy as well. And bringing them into the first team is never a sure thing. So when you bring them in, you got to bring them in the right way, and obviously, bring them into situations where they are able to succeed and put them into those environments with the right people around them. But he's been, and I have kids as well, so they've played with him and against him in some other events. So we've known about Pepe for a long time, but his ability to come into this league and make the impact that he has, last year as well as a young player, but this year has been tremendous. And again, when you capture momentum, and certainly his growth has been exponential, and what he's done with the league and certainly with the national team, it makes it a little bit more meteoric, but his rise is for good reason. He's a good, smart, intelligent young player, and when you look at his size and his physicality, it's very good. His work rate is fantastic, but his movement and his finishing ability in and around the box is extremely good for a young player. It's rare, and he's got a bright future. That's obvious. That's fairly obvious to everyone, but it's nice to see, and it's really good for the league, and obviously it's good for Dallas again for one, taking the player in and developing.
And then second, just with Sebastian and Muse obviously coming in a little later in the year, how much of this offseason and going into next year is about developing them as leaders and developing their leadership abilities for this year? I know you've worked with that a little bit this year, but how much of it is moving forward with those two guys as the future in terms of leadership?
Yeah, I think there's obviously Sebastian, it's a very easy one. He comes in and, his charisma, his quality, his idea of the game is very clear. Musa took a little while to get more fit to have the impact. And again, we need to onboard him. Obviously, learning English is a big priority to again, help this, to help him acclimatize to Austin, to acclimatize to this experience of being in MLS in the United States. So, but I think, again, they both will fill a big role. Sebastian has a natural leadership about him. I think he's shown that already. Some of that being vocal, but most of it being about how he plays and how he trains and his professionalism. So, I think they're both key players in their own ways, and we obviously have to continue to utilize the players that we have for that same, to continue to take that same ownership and accountability with leadership on the field and off the season. It's going to be a real important offseason, and those guys will play a role in off-season workouts, and certainly as we start leading up in preseason as well.
Thank you, Coach. Next up, Zach Smith. Go for it, Zach.
Thanks. I know we've asked you a lot this season about Brad Stuver because he's been kind of one of the most probably consistent players throughout for the entire year. But I guess now that you have a little bit of like a lot of games to look at, did he as a whole coming in from the LAFC match early on to now, is he just maybe the surprise and maybe the positive kind of performer so far of the season?
Yeah, again, it's what your expectations are. He never was a number one. So at what point does he get that chance? How does it look, and how does he take it? I think there's been a lot of growth with Brad this year. I think he excelled and performed extremely well, collectively over the entire year. Early on was, I think, exceptional. And again, our whole group was fairly fearless in how we went and played the first, 12, 15 games, and the ability to play out of the back and break opponents, take on what the presses were in our league was exceptional. He was a big part of our ability to do that. What I would say is, as we went through the year and we had some bumps along the road, it unsettled all of us, and it unsettled, certainly Brad and maybe our back line and our thirst to do that a little more. And as we lost Matt, I think we've scaled back a little bit of that. And that's, again, us also recognizing, we don't always have to do those certain things, but Brad has been, the idea and the philosophy by which we wanted to play and the identity that we wanted to establish, he came in and absolutely allowed us to do that. And that was a big reason that we brought him in. His shot stopping along the way and the notoriety that got early on was rightfully so. And again, I think he put together a good, solid first year of really getting consistent games and being a starter. And now it's how do we build off that and grow off that and continue to evolve his leadership quality and just his experience, his game management as well, and understanding what the game needs when it needs it. And those are things we've talked about for him going forward. But I would say he's been a complete surprise. I've known him, I've seen him, but for everyone else, the believability comes when you can go out and play and do it. And now with the success and with the bumps, how you react and how you continue to push your group. And I expect him to be, just as good next year, and we'll look forward to it.
You kind of answered it. Was he always your kind of number one guy when you brought him in? And do you think his body of work this year has kind of given him not a heads up, but the chance to continue to be the number one next year moving forward?
Yeah, I think the body of work certainly does that. And I think, coming in, it was competition, certainly for him and for Andrew. And Andrew's a different goalkeeper. His shot stopping is fantastic. His athleticism is very good. He's taking on the idea of playing out of the back, and we train that and work on that every day. And is he as good as Brad? Probably not. But, you could also, when Andrew plays, we can look to do different things. And it's good to have two goalies that are passionate about what they're doing and willing to take on what we're teaching. And, they've both been extremely helpful to one another. And that's what you like in a group. They're very competitive, and they both have really good qualities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have time for two more questions. Cam Kubik, go ahead and take the next one. And then Chris Bills, go ahead and take that last one.
Hey, Josh. Just wanted to ask, you talked a little bit about him after the game on Sunday, but about Driussi. In the 13 games that he's started this year, the team's averaging 1.38 goals per match versus 0.72 goals per match without him in games he hasn't started. So could you just expand a little bit about the impact he has for the club when he's on the pitch?
Yeah, I think that says a lot. And again, we've had so many opportunities in the last, 8 to 10 games with the creation and certainly the ways that we're creating goals. And, we talked about it. We're playing teams that sit a little bit lower, playing here at home. And again, we worked a lot on that, but when you bring in to the fold someone with his quality, and it's not just his quality, but it's his ability to make other players around him better. And there's the playing component, there's the unbalancing the opponent, there's the arrival in the penalty box. So he brings a lot of those qualities. And again, he helps others in that area as well. So, and obviously Musa has a big part of that as well, where we have a proper striker that brings a physicality and a presence that allows the Diegos, the Cecilios, the Tomas, the Sebastians, the Alex to help influence and integrate their game in different ways. So it was nice to obviously get these players. It was difficult without them, but we were trying to make the best of the situation. And again, I think we grew as a team even before they got here. And then as those players arrived, there were good ideas. There were certainly a good way of playing, but the quality of Sebastian is quite clear. And a proper preseason to onboard him with more of the detail, both offensively and defensively, would be nice. And Musa as well, to get him fitter and obviously help him with positioning and timing. Those are things that we've already seen some areas that he could grow in. But having a player like Sebastian is critical to success in this league. The best teams have real playmakers, guys that can create their own goals, guys that can create goals for others, and in the end are a driving force when you're trying to finish attacks. And that's exactly what he's been for us. And it'll be nice again to have a good preseason with all of these guys and be able to build on that.
For sure. Yeah. Looking forward to speaking with Seba tomorrow a little bit as well. And then last one from me, just about the game. You talked about it a little bit with having already, played them twice and lost twice. So just psyche wise for the team, what's it going to take from them to go up and flip the script this time around, make the third time the charm? Yeah,
it's going to be many things. Obviously we got to score goals to win the game, and we're going there with the intention to win the game. So you know, who we have out on the field, and certainly our intentions and our intensity, our urgency to bring the game in a good way, and you know, control tempo when we can. But we got to be respectful of the opponent. They're a good team. They are, and you know, they build up in a variety of ways. They have the ability, you know, to interchange positions. And again, Ferreira is a guy that shows up all over the field. So it's understanding what that's going to look like. And, you know, their verticality, their speed is extremely good. They can also get out of tight places. So a very good group. So we've got to be able to hurt them. Like I said, we got to find ways to score goals, and that's navigating some of their pressure or their mid block. But also be aware of how disciplined and organized we have to be when they have the ball, how we can build pressure and certainly try to turn them over when we can. But it won't be easy. But you know, we've had a few days where we'll be able to build into that in the next couple of days, where we identify what we're going to try to do. And you know, come Saturday, it's about getting a win. Period.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Chris
Josh,
Bills,
is
go for
there-
it.
Yeah, is there any update or change to Matt Beasley's status since last week? And then of those 4 guys that were season ending, Ben, Aaron, Ulysses, and Danny, are any of them training full at this point?
No change in Matt, and the others are not training full.
And with Matt, is there a point that you reach where it's not, I don't want to say not worth, but you know, not worth bringing him back into the fold, you know, risking an injury, you know, both with his fitness and obviously with concussion stuff? Would you think that if it doesn't change between now and say this weekend, that he's probably done for the season, or would you not go that far yet?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to continue to, you know, see how he makes the progress through the protocols. But it's, you know, and it's not something to make light of. It's not something to try to rush. I mean, he's got to do what's best for him, and I think we're all understanding of that. I mean, certainly that side of sports, in every sport, has been, you know, certainly changed over the last 3 or 4 years, rightfully so. So we'll allow it to take its course, and we'll decide, make decisions after that.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. That concludes today's media availability session with Austin FC head coach Josh Wolff.